Okay, anybody who knows Google Meets, is there a way to see more than 4 people at a time? Is there a button that I can click so I can see everybody?
Yeah, you can. Let me find it. There is. You can put them in a tile format, but let me see where that is.
Meeting to order at 7:02. And
Here.
Dan Brule.
Here.
Melissa Narrett.
Here.
Keith Ravenberg.
Here.
Lindsay Spencer.
here.
Terry Trossel.
Here.
Mark Wilmer.
Here.
Okay, and we're going to go straight into the superintendent's report.
All right, good evening, everyone. So let's start off with our COVID-19 updates, and then I'll take any questions about that. Obviously, the biggest news at this point is we have been extended to April 22nd, and that decision was, of course, all based on the stay in place order and encouraging people for social distancing and not having more than people together, none of which obviously correlates to a school environment. A few other things, the food drive went really well, and we had pickup and delivery of boxes of food this Monday morning, and we had such an incredible turnout that we're gonna, at this point, plan on every 2 weeks because we were able to deliver so much food to these families, and then we're just gonna check in with them in the interim to make sure that food is lasting them. We also started the grab and go breakfast and lunches. We've only had a few kids take advantage to those, so Sam's actually putting a flyer out, and we'll try to reach out to some of our free and reduced families to bolster those numbers. Overall, I just want to say I'm really proud of our teachers and administrators. I've had a lot of positive feedback from the community, a lot of emails, people saying they felt that our teachers and admin were just really well prepared and are striking a good balance between giving parents resources, but also not totally stressing them out as we all go through this difficult time. We established all teachers have standard office hours across the district between 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So it's during that time we fully expect that they are available to parents and students. We're continuing to evaluate different tools, both educational tools and products and resources that we've been putting out to families, and also how to best communicate and utilize those with families. There's some interesting ones, you know, when you look at things like a Zoom, but then you get into issues, and we're exploring this both with our attorneys and talking to our peers in other districts. Could you offer, you know, teachers are willing to, you know, work with individual students and do some interventions and so forth, but then you get into issues of, protecting the students and the teachers and those in terms of like the Amy Hester Act and so forth. So that's kind of a new challenge that obviously no one has previously thought about. And then the final piece, well, not the final, one of many pieces, we are having conversations about grades, and no determination has been made yet. That's another one that we're talking a lot with the admin leadership team and also with other districts. It obviously is going to really vary between what you could do for an elementary middle school as opposed to what you may have to do for a high school. Could we consider pass fail? How's that going to impact GPAs, college admissions? We're all wrestling with those questions at this point. So that's kind of the latest and greatest. Any thoughts or questions on COVID-19 and our response to it?
So Brian, at what point have you guys talked, obviously we're April 23rd. Is there as part of the conversation at some point, when do we make the decision where we're going to go back, right? Is it a week or 2 weeks? You know what I mean? What does that look like? Or it's not there yet? We'll see what happens in a couple weeks.
Yeah, not there yet. There's ongoing conversations between the superintendent and St. Louis Public Health and the county executive. So we're just not quite there yet. What I would anticipate happening is if we're not able to go back on the April 23rd, I think we'll know that, 1 to 2 weeks prior to that. And if we're not, then to me at that point, that's when the decision would be made that we wouldn't be coming back for this school year. But that being said, that decision has not been made or discussed in any depth yet.
So one thing that I stressed this in the last meeting too, but I think we need to start thinking about long term, because this is something that is going to stay with us even if we go back to school. So if we go back to school next semester, let's not even talk about this school year, but let's say that we go back the next after following summer and there's a COVID flare up. Or what happens if we have a teacher that gets infected or a student? We're gonna have to start grappling through like those scenarios and how we deal with them. Not because we want them to happen, but because they might. We just need to think about that worst case scenario. And what I'm really proud about with this district is I talked to some parents that, like we're in Webster, and you probably know this because you have a kid in Webster, but they just extended their spring break by 4 days. They weren't prepared to actually start doing classes on Monday. So I want that in the future as well, right? So let's be prepared to do exactly what we just did this time around, which is ready to start school on Monday after spring break. And that's one of the advantages of the school district, again, is we have that flexibility.
Good point.
Brian, do we know how many students are utilizing the online schooling, or have we had many parents or kids call into the technical line to get assistance with their homework or accessing all of those resources that are available to them at this point?
No, very little. It seems to be going well. We're able to see and for instance, on Monday, the vast majority of our classes had 100% attendance. So kids and parents were checked in. So that was really nice to see, and that included high school as well.
I was going to piggyback on something that Mark said in thinking long term, and I know that you're swamped right now, and I'm sure that the people I'm going to mention are swamped too. But I wonder if there's an opportunity to reach out to Launch and see if they have given thought to some sort of bigger rollout, and if there's a way that we could integrate our teachers into their system if something like this, or if this in particular was carrying over till next year. It seems like they already have something that's really nice already set up. in doing a lot of that behind the scenes work that we could maybe tap into if we needed to, especially if we knew that we would have a month or two to get ready for it.
Yeah, great idea. They've already put out a few communications, and we'll follow up with launch. That's a great point, Melissa.
How does launch handle situations where you have one-on-one learning or interventions?
Well, they just do it via email. You know, the kids can ask questions, or they can be in whole. See, I'm comfortable with teachers delivering whole class lessons through, Google Meet or Zoom. The issue that you get into is when we have students that truly need individual interventions, and then we would have no record of that dialogue, that interaction between staff and student.
Brian, what are we doing if we have children not logging in? Will there be some kind of procedure put in place to reach out to those families and find out if they're having difficulties or anything like that?
Yes, Carrie, we already had that conversation. So anytime that if a student, we have a attendance reporting process at each building where the teachers, and that's kind of what our metric is on attendance, is the child, logging in and interfacing to whatever degree with the teacher. It's not just about assignment completion. And then if they're not, the teacher reports that, then the principal, teacher and or principal has the ability to reach out. And then we also still have our counselors and Daniel Bowen, social worker, that's reaching out individually to families.
Okay.
Anything else on COVID-19 at this moment?
So, I mean, is there anything we should talk through from the budgeting side and scenarios associated with, so we already know what happens to the Early Childhood Center. Some of the long-term implications obviously are that you're going to need a cleaning crew that is going to have to do deep cleaning probably more often. For example, when we do open up, we might want to think through the O&M cost associated with that going forward as well. And I would imagine the Early Childhood Center and maybe the elementary would even need more, but who knows? You know, those high school kids are pretty disgusting too. So all those things I think we should think about in terms of financial scenarios and what is the impact.
Yeah, we can look at that. Now, in terms of the cleaning, I don't think it's going to be a dramatic difference because we're going to have, the board approved having our custodians to come in. So we're actually, we got this later on the agenda, but that whole crew has been coming in, and we're kind of going to go back and forth. Like, for instance, we were going to give them next week off. But then based on the assumption that we're back on the 23rd, then that whole prior week, they're going to come back in and do even more deep cleaning. So they've actually been able to get a lot done with no kids in the building.
Maybe I wasn't clear. I'm talking about long-term implications associated with the cleaning. So we go back to school after next summer,
Understood.
right? And then we have a teacher that does have the virus, doesn't have the virus because of another flare up. I think we should just sort of think that through in terms of a budget. Long term, what are the implications associated with a new reality of a COVID-19 that does not go away? And again, hopefully we're not even talking about that, and hopefully it gets snuffed out and we don't see it again. I will tell you that the infectious disease doctors that we're talking to at the medical school don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, we can do that. Thanks, Mark.
So
All
Brian,
right.
hey,
I'm
Brian,
sorry. Go ahead.
So at this point, we're through the 23rd, and then there's no update. I mean, we'll have coming updates in the coming weeks about the rest of the school year. But at this point, that's all we know.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, why don't we go ahead and go to the next agenda item, which Sam is on to talk about communication. Any questions for Sam?
I do. I just a comment. The messaging has gotten a lot tighter, which is this is a compliment, Sam. I mean, one of the things I've used to drive me nuts as a parent was with kids in middle school, high school, and elementary school, slightly different. You know, not sure what I was really needed to pay attention to or not. So hats off. I mean, I thought with kids in all three schools now, you guys have done a nice job tightening that up, which is good. And allowing at the same time allowing some autonomy across the building. So nice job.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. We're getting a lot of input from teachers, Parent Square, and it's nice it's all going to one place in a particular situation. So I'm glad that we've been able to kick that off, and it seems to be very well utilized. So thank you, Sam.
Okay, good. Next up, we have looking for approval for the science curriculum. This was the MySci Wash U kits, and hopefully you can see on the screen, looking for approval for that $183,294.05 to adopt the MySci science curriculum.
Okay, we need a motion. Do we have a motion to?
I'll move we approve the science curriculum order for the next school year.
I second.
Discussion?
Do we have any idea of what potential implications about a rollout for this might be for next year, as far as professional development, or is kind of everything, I assume, is on hold?
Well, the PD is included as part of the pricing. I'm trying to remember if that was basically every time they come out with a new kit, they train the teachers on the implementation of it. So no, there hasn't, in terms of COVID-19, there hadn't been any discussion about this.
Was the plan that they were going to come provide some district-wide PD over the summer, or is it in more like small group kind of setup?
They do it small group. They do it grade level or subject based, actually.
Okay.
Any other questions about the science curriculum? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes.
Thank you all. Next up, we have a proposal to offer driver's education as a summer community education course. The basis for this is we currently, we have historically offered driver's education at the high school with Jeff Heinrich teaching that. Jeff is actually certified, one of our 2 certified PLTW teachers. And he's also recently in the last year, as you know from approving it, we've also added Construction Technology 1 and Construction Technology 2. And those have proven to be very popular courses that ultimately result in a certification and a leg up for those students in the area. So I did not feel was in the best interest of our program to have a teacher teaching driver's education. I can tell you, personally, I'm not aware of any other district in the area that still does it as a credit bearing course. So we thought this was a good option that we could still offer it in the summer. So you can see the details here. It would still be Jeff Heinrich. He's still willing to do this in the summer. You can see the cost of the parent is $320, which put us in the lower amount. The lowest I saw, Alex did some comparative data, was $300, and it went up over $500 for similar options that offered both classroom and drive instruction. Questions, thoughts on this proposal?
So one question I have is it shows the maximum is 10 students. When we had this as a class, how many students were in the class? Because I've heard from some parents that, I know they had been told it was going to go as an online course, not the summer school. So number one, how many kids were enrolled in the class when we had it offered at school?
I'd have to find that out for you, Carrie. I don't know if to 15 max is what comes to mind.
Okay.
But,
That
but he
was my
also had help. He had Darren Wade was there to, when he'd take kids out driving, Darren was available to cover the classroom component of that. So I think that's probably why I wasn't in on this conversation with Alex and Jeff, but I assume that's why they would max it at 10.
So would we have 2 sessions if we had enough kids to warrant 2 sessions? Or would we then go to offering it as an online course in the fall?
Well, we could go either direction. It would really just be contingent on Jeff's availability and interest. If we ended up having more than 10 students that wanted to take it. But yes, launch would be another possibility if we wanted to put that out to kids.
And then I guess another question is, if we do implement this, will we look at the age of the students and take them that way? Or is it going to be first come, first serve? Because, you're going to have probably a lot of parents upset if there's 10 kids in this class, but they're not really going to turn 16 until X time frame. So that's something maybe we need to look at or think about, is put some kind of additional clause or something in it that your child has to be turning 16 by X date or whatever.
Good point. I just made a note of that, Carrie.
If we did have a lot of people who are interested in this, or do you have anyone else who would be interested too? If Jeff is not available too? Or not necessarily?
Well, they have to be, I assume that they have to be certified to teach it. So we don't have anyone else with that certification.
Okay.
So right now we're just looking at offering this during the summer. If we approve this, or if we approve this, then it will no longer be an option as a class come fall of next year.
It's already not. You all approved the course guide. It's not in the course guide any longer. This is just a backup, just a nice option to put out to our parents.
So on the lines of this, but not on the lines of this, going forward, can we be told what we're losing? I know we prove what we're going to have in the curriculum, and maybe it's my error when I say this, but I don't ever remember us being told, okay, we're having these classes, but we're not having those. Because I'd like to know what's being eliminated at the same time that I'm approving classes. And like I said, that might be my error, and maybe we have been told and I don't recall, but.
Yeah, we can do that.
So Brian, if we were to the point that was made, if demand is such, right now we're approving just this one block, or are we able to, I guess my question is, if we've got more than 10 students, can we word this as such where we approve? It's not really adding a program, right? It's just adding capacity. Does that make sense?
Or another session.
Yeah, you guys truly, you're just approving the concept.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about the logistics on the numbers and how many sessions. If you say we're okay with this, and technically I don't even know that we need board approval on this, but it seemed like kind of a good thing to run by the board.
Well, and I guess that's why what prompted this is, if we're approving it, I just want to make sure that it's the concept, not, hey, we're going to do one session or whatever, and we'll let you go do it. I like the idea, but I also, hopefully if the demand is such, then we have to figure out how to make it work, right?
Absolutely. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Well, can we get a motion to approve the driver's education proposal?
I move that we approve the driver's education proposal as outlined.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? about driver's education? All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any- Okay, that passes, Brian.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have as I told you at an earlier meeting, we were not happy with the performance of Lifetouch, our photography company that's worked with the district for several years. So we did a interview process with myself and the leadership team. And ultimately, the ones we felt were the best were Wagner Portrait Group. They are a local company. They work with multiple districts in the area, Clayton, Webster, Kirkwood, Rockwood, Parkway. They're really all over. They come very highly recommended. Customer service, they're known for their customer service. They had a great presentation. Their pricing is very fair. I'll tell you my philosophy on services like this are, instead of asking, many districts receive a commission back. In other words, they're making some money off this, but my philosophy has always been, let's put out the most reasonable packages to our parents, and we don't receive any commission back. So ultimately what Wagner was able to offer under that philosophy is kindergarten through 8th grade will get $5 yearbooks. Historically, those have been 10 with Lifetouch. They're also going to have a $10 package, starting package, that will be offered at all levels for our families. So it's very competitive pricing, and I think they're an excellent choice.
All right, can we get a motion to approve the Wagner Portrait Group?
I move that we approve the contract with Wagner Portrait Group.
A second.
Discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that passes.
All right, thank you. Next, just a quick update on the election status. I believe you're all aware that it's moved from April 7th to June 2nd at this point. So obviously that impacts Prop E, and that also means that our good friend Dan Brule gets to keep working for a few more months.
Can we give him more responsibilities for the next couple months? How do we do that?
Absolutely. I think this is the meeting to do that.
We'll do that. That's it, personnel. We'll do that in closed session.
Yeah. Quick write policy to give the secretary more work.
Any
Hey,
questions? Any questions?
This is a peripheral question, but I've gotten a couple emails and texts about signage for Prop E and what we need to be doing or not doing. Is it, I guess, long story short, are they supposed to come down or not? Because the question was asked of me and I have no idea if they're supposed to come off yards until a month out or not.
I don't know. I'll follow up on that with the advocacy committee. That's a great question. I know they have stickers ready to go that say June 2nd on them, but I don't know how that impacts that rule about the time limits on signs. I'll find that out.
Okay.
The advocacy committee has asked people to take down their signs. I know mine is still in my yard because I'm a lazy bum. But they did email everybody and ask them to take them down.
So but I guess my point is, so it is policy that they should come down? Because that's the question of me. I don't know the answer. It's a weird thing.
I think they were taking the opinion that 30 days out thing stood regardless, and so that everybody should take them down until 30 days before that June date.
Got it.
I don't know if that's official, but that's kind of what it seemed like they were leaning toward encouraging people to do.
Okay.
Excuse me, I believe that might be an official county thing or municipal thing. You might want to check on that.
Yeah, I know it is code. It is, you are correct. There is code related to that, Kate. I didn't know if we knew the answer or not. And someone had asked me and I don't know the answer.
Anything else on the election status?
Nope.
All right, the next agenda item, in light of us closing for the additional time relating to the stay-in-place order, I'm asking the board to extend paying our support staff and our essential staff additional 20% for the hours that they are actually working, and extend that to the April 22nd date.
Okay, if we can get a motion to extend the pay of our support staff and the 20% additional pay for essential staff.
I move that we approve the extension of that agreement.
Again,
All right, discussion.
So I just want to reiterate that we need a plan for the future. And so if we need to hire more staff or cleaning, what would that look like? Because I assume we're not going to continue to do overtime. And what are those costs and how does that affect the budget?
Understood.
Okay, anything else? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that passes, Brian.
Thank you. Next, we have the project update. So, in light, if there's a silver lining to everything going on, it is going to be a positive for the Prop B project at the middle school, high school. We've already been able to take advantage of the fact that we're not back until minimum of earliest April 23rd. So some key things that have been going on. The second floor of building C has been completed. I was over there to see it today. Looks great. Key work that's being done in the next couple weeks here. We have 5 rooms that are being completed between the middle school and high school. So those will be everything from, tile to lighting to all finishes. So we're taking advantage of that. And then the plan will be for the remainder of the school year, regardless of whether we're in session. If we're out of session, we'll be able to obviously be much more aggressive. If we're in session, we're still going to be able to do 2 to 3 classrooms at a time. And then the next big pieces are working on the vestibule for the high school and and completing the first floor of building C. So those are kind of a few key things that are going on. But they're still working, in case anyone's wondering. I was over there today and they had a full crew. I counted 24 workers that just I ran into as I walked the building. How about questions or thoughts on the project update?
I have one question. At the bottom, it said that it's going to be done in August. I thought at the last meeting, we had been told it was probably going to be October. So have we really made up that much time because of the virus, or am I having a senior moment?
No, and honestly, it kind of remains to be seen. At one point, Carrie, I had talked with the board that there was a possibility, not that I was ready to accept this, but that there could be a couple components of it that would not be done in August. For instance, I specifically mentioned some landscaping and what was previously the small gym. So those are, but yes, the pandemic is the big X factor right now, because if we can, if the kids don't come back for the rest of this year, it remains to be seen if we can continue to get people on site, what that's going to do for the timeline, where it's, we're still kind of figuring that out as we go here right now.
I guess another question as well is, I mean, I know, and I'm glad the construction is still going on, but are they doing anything to check their workers as they come in, as far as symptoms, temperature, things like that? We're having our our custodial staff clean during this time frame, but how do we know if any of their employees are having any symptoms? And do you know what their policy or protocol is as they're working in the school right now?
I do not, and that's a great point, Carrie. And I'll follow up with the project superintendent this week on how they do that, particularly with the subcontractors.
Okay. Are we?
And I would just like to know what their kind of plans are in general, just because, like, the last thing I think we want is there to be an outbreak at the school and that to be on the news, and then people to be asking questions about, was that really a essential services construction project? So just doing what we need to do to make sure that they're making sure that their workers are staying safe while they're on job.
Good point.
So one other thing I want to reiterate, we have to have that plan for our school district regardless. And the crazy thing about this virus is that the first 6 days you're contagious, but you have no symptoms at all. So literally people could have a fever, and yeah, they could have it, but they could also be working there for a couple of days and have it and be contagious and have no idea. So it's a little different from the flu. Flu, actually, you're contagious when you have that fever, when you are feeling bad. So we're gonna struggle with that as well. So they may not even have an answer to that, just so you know.
Yeah, I will say I'm mostly thinking about it because one of Tim's job sites got shut down today because one of their employees got tested positive. And so they're in like peak freak out mode about it. And I would, that's just like a normal company where he was doing a normal job. But I could see where if five workers at a school came down sick, that might be something that people felt was newsworthy.
Good point.
Hey, Brian, the other thing, just from a budget perspective, are we able to go, I still don't know exactly where we are with this, but what would be helpful is when we approve this, we had it broken out by major buckets of spend, et cetera. And even just being able to speak to and understand, because right now I see the number thrown out there. We've translated this over to change orders, right? Which, okay, that's fine. But particularly in light of if we're getting ready to embark on this other project, it'd be very helpful for me, at least, to see or have a view of we got to that total 18.4 number by this, right? These buckets. I would think we've got visibility to where we're spending hot or not hot, and just take the change orders out. That would be something very useful. And we don't need that right away, but I think when we go wrap this thing up or as we get closer, it would be very, very helpful to understand that, just to be able to speak to it. Right. I mean, that's the story, right? Is, hey, certain things are going to run for different reasons, right? But to the extent we as a board are able to speak to that, I would feel a lot better about it. Because right now I'm speaking to a big number with 10 scope changes, right? And that's really difficult for me to communicate outside of the auditorium, right? It's really hard for me to communicate what the drivers are.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jamie. So would that perhaps look like you'd like to be able to say asbestos abatement was determined to be 500, but we actually spent 950 on it, or whatever the case might be.
Whatever that is, right? Just frame that way, different than this change order, I think would help me tremendously. Because right now, all I can speak to is, and I know you guys have told us what these change orders for, and Lindsay and I looked through it. But if we could just shift that paradigm a little bit, wow, I can't even believe I said that word. Just shift how we framed it. I think it would be really helpful.
We can do that. Good idea. All right, Lindsay, that was the superintendent's report.
Hey, Brian, quickly on that, sorry.
You're fine.
So we're 300K over budget now, and we're halfway through the spend. If you look at your number, you're 3 to 5%. So we're going to end somewhere in the range of 500 to 700,000 over budget. Is that already been our 10-year plan?
I have to, you know what? Let me make a note of that, Dan, and I'll get back to the board to see what what number John utilized in that.
Okay.
I do not know that off the top of my head.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the policy approval for the many policies we looked at our last meeting. We need a motion to approve all of those that have how many? 5, 6, 7, 8. 21 policies. So can I get a motion to approve the policies under policy approval?
I'll move we approve the policies as outlined in the agenda.
So are we, sorry.
Are we
before I
doing it by
second-
letter or are we doing all of them?
Oh, I assumed we were doing all of them. Do we need to name them out, Lindsay?
No, I meant by like there's A and there's a whole bunch of them. And then there was B where we had a couple that had changes. And then there's C.
Yeah, I think we should do them in groups, right? The first one should be, we're accepting and approving those as written, right? Versus B, section B and section C, we had some changes, I think. Right?
Yes, that sounds
Okay, Jamie, I'll let you make the motion.
Oh boy, now see Melissa, there you go. I move that we approve
I
the
tried to do
policies.
it.
I move that we approve the policies under section A, the 21 that are listed there.
I'll second.
right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, those are approved. So then we're going to move on to section B. We have a policy that we are declining to revise. So do we need to do that if we're declining to revise it? Or?
I think we should go ahead and take action on it because we always, MSBA always wants to know what our actions were, both whether it happened or did not happen. So I think it would be good to just have it on the record that we chose to not accept this policy.
Okay.
So is it, we're not accepting the policy or we're not accepting the recommended revisions?
The recommended revisions.
All right. So I move that we do not accept the recommended revisions for policy DEA, revenues from tax sources.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. And then we need a motion for section C, policy approval as amended for the following three policies.
I move that we approve the policies as amended for policy GBEBC, policy IC, and policy JHG.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
So on GBEBC on page 4, where it says contracted services, one of the things that I had talked about in our last meeting, it says, if the district contracts with another person or entity to provide services to students, the district may include in the contract a requirement that a criminal background check be conducted on any person. I know that we do them, but I wanted the word may to be changed to will include in the contract a requirement. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but I think may leaves it open-ended. And even though I know we do a criminal background on everybody, I would rather it be will.
Okay, can we make that change?
We can just say as amended and discussed.
All right, any more discussion?
So,
No?
nope.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, those are approved as well. All right, do we have a special school district report?
We had our last meeting and we went through the process of picking new board members, which is mildly traumatic because the people do their full lineup like the League of Women Voters style. But then the governing council has to vote on them one person at a time and roll call vote. So you have to stand up there while the people are sitting in front of you and be like, no, feels really terrible. But that's basically all that happened at that meeting. Things are moving along there just fine.
Great. And MSBA delegate reports.
Oh boy. Before anyone says anything, I will make a commitment before our next meeting to be off this list. I am taking advantage of the quarantine.
Which list?
No list, Keith. Don't you worry. There's no list.
All right. Go ahead.
The only thing to say about MSBA is the Region 7 meeting was canceled like everything else in the world, so nothing's going on.
Okay. All right. It looks like we have several upcoming events that we will probably be doing online. We will be doing online. So board policy meeting is, Kate, is there anything you need from us at this point?
No.
All right. Well, we need a motion to adjourn to closed session for the reasons listed in our agenda.
Can I ask one question, and I may not be able to go back? Can I ask one more question about the driver's ed, or once we've already passed that in the agenda, null and void?
Brian, I'm going to leave it to you. I